to Haunt the Collector with me, Jace. And yeah, this right, okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit of something about this video. I actually planned to do this video a little over a week ago now. Well, I was going to record it a little over a week ago now. I got the idea running through my head, and it's while I was banging them other videos out, and I was like, well, in the groove. Anyway, last Sunday I did a live stream with Collectors Enabled, so with Mike and John and Shane. I had a really good time. If you've not seen it, please hop over there to Collectors Enabled channel and have a look at it. So it was last Sunday. Anyway, whilst doing that live stream, we sort of, about 3/4 of the way through, went off on a bit of a tangent. And I got sort of involved in it. And I was there thinking the whole time, I'm literally thinking of doing a video on this. And if I bang that video out tomorrow, which is what I was going to do, I'm like, it's going to look like one, it's going to look like I'm having a bit of a dig at one of the people on the live stream, which I'm generally not. And the other thing is, it's sort of repetitive. It just looks like I've been chatting about this, and then I'm going to do a video on that. So it was just the way it. And if you watch that live stream, you'll see what I mean. It literally, we sort of fell into it, and it was just so weird that I'd done the thumbnail for this, which I was really pleased with, and I was really excited about doing this. Anyway, so that's why there's been a bit of a gap. And on the subject of what I've sort of just alluded to slightly, let me just say that this video, it is a bit of a dark subject, obviously. Yes, we love dark subjects on this channel. Love dark things. And obviously I'm aware of the serious nature of addiction. And I'm not getting into the serious. This is collecting. I'm talking about solely collecting from my own experiences, my own perspective, and my own observations and what I see going around. And those of you who know me well will know, I have it said to me regularly that I'm a very addictive person, a very addictive personality and all that. And when I do things, I do get into it. So over the years, I've fought with addiction, as I'm sure many of you have, so I'm using my own personal experiences and what I see as well going on. So, but this is solely based on collecting, mainly statues, but collecting in general as well. But it just, don't think I'm having a go at any one person out there. I'm not. I aim a lot when I do these things. I aim a lot at myself, of what I experience myself, and I know I do myself. And again, we're talking about collecting mainly statues, so it's just me chatting. It's just me giving my opinion. I think we need to sort of start with the basic question, is there addiction in collecting? Now, the short and simple answer is yes, and it's rife. And I think collecting is one of those hobbies where addiction is massively widespread. It's massively common. It's glaringly obvious when you sort of break it down and look at it for what it is. And, you know, because as with all addictions, the people who are in that groove, because with collecting it goes from basically an interest to passion and desire comes into it, and then that in itself can manifest into obsession, and this is where we start getting into the realms of addiction. And I'm going to go through my experience and my observations in how sort of widespread and common it is. And I'm not just talking about statues, I mean collecting in general. It's one where it's discussed every day in a roundabout fashion. I watch a lot of channels, I talk to a lot of collectors, and it seems one of those hobbies where when you sort of look through the veil of passion and desire, which has now manifested itself as obsession, and when we get to obsession, again, very common, which is when we sort of walk through into the realms of addiction. And like I say, guilty of it. A lot of us are guilty of it. And it's discussed. It's kind of discussed, but as with addiction in other areas, in darker, way more serious areas, which I'm not getting into incidentally, you sort of cloud over it. You talk through it. You have to, because you don't want to address the issue. You don't want to. Prime example is when we discuss, and it's discussed on a daily basis, display space, storage space for boxes. I've done it myself. How many videos have I discussed it myself? Did one recently. We're cancelling pre-orders because of display space. And the simple thing is, and this is where I got that, it was back then the idea of doing this video, okay? And because the simple fact was, I was like, why is display space an issue? This is something that is discussed openly, day on day, multitudes of times by pretty much every collector. And also hand in hand with that goes the required space for storing the boxes. And I was like, why is it an issue? You just stop. It's that simple. There's no display space issue at all. You stop. There's no need to buy it. There's no need to have it. But that's where the obsession lies. That's where the addiction kicks in. Because you do need to own it. You have to own it. You have to have it. And it starts on day one. It starts with the rumours of what company's doing what line or what piece. And you wait. We're on the cusp of Next Level Showcase X Part 3 coming and anticipations and people. I know I'm what I want to see. Like I said, I'm aiming this at myself, guys, as well. Don't think I'm picking out any one person out there, because I'm not. I'm talking about myself here as well. And you're there and you're waiting, then you see it's revealed and you're excited and you're talking about it and you're there. Day one pre-order, it's day one pre-order for me, and the excitement and everything that's involved. And then the pre-order day comes and you smack your pre-order in on day one, because you've got to get your pre-order. You've got to know that you've got that piece secured. Even when we're talking about J&D, who like to brag that they sell out within an hour, and they get rather upset when they don't. You've still got time to buy them because they're still on shelves, they're still in display, but you've still got to get your pre-order in. Then it's the long wait. It's the long wait for when your pre-order actually becomes, and you get that shipping notification, and then you get that shipping notification and you pay off what you owe, and then it's shipped, and then you're waiting and you're waiting for it to be delivered, and you have to pay the import fee, and then it arrives and you're like blown away. You've got that box there and you can't wait to get in, for those of us who open them on day one. And I am picking on one or two there. And you get it out, maybe you do a video or you take some photographs of it, and you've got this beautiful statue, and you're there, the day is come, and you've got it, and you put it on your shelf, or you put it wherever it's going to go, and you love it, and you talk about it, and you take pictures, and and then maybe months later, weeks with some, I've seen it many times, something else comes along, and you've got to have that feeling again. You've got to have that feeling again, but you've got nowhere to put it. Maybe you haven't got the funds, so that piece that you waited so long for, 18 months for, maybe longer, that you talked about, defended when people were slating the photographs of it, and now you're selling it because the addiction. It's the addiction to the feeling. And I see many times people talking about it's nostalgia. I question that. Now, I've said that myself. I've said it myself. When we talk about being addicted to something, quite often the people that are entrapped in that, and that might not be the right word, but people who are in the groove of that quite often defend this position they're in. You see it all the time with different areas of obsession, with different areas of addiction. The denial. It's denial. Again, guilty. So people defend it. And when I see these massively cluttered shelves, I've discussed this before on videos before, massively cluttered collections, I'm on that path. I see an issue. There's no way you need all that. There's no way you need all that. There's too much to look at. You do not appreciate it. You can't. I've got to the point where I am now in 3 rooms with my pieces, and I'm at the point where I am like, being brutally honest with myself and saying which is why I cancelled some pieces, and I'm cancelling more because I've pre-ordered more. You say, can't control it. Desire for ownership, addiction. Do you know what? I take my hats off. There's a few of you who've messaged me here over the 16 months, whatever it's been, I've been doing this. Messaged me saying, I don't really collect statues, I collect the smaller scale stuff, or I've only got 1 or 2 statues now and that's enough for me, or I've just got a few pieces in my collection and I enjoy watching what others do now. Hats off to you guys, because you've got it. You are the collectors out there who have got it. We're the idiots. You're the ones who have got collecting by the throat, and you've got control. There's contentment, there's resolution, and there is fulfillment and appreciation, all within simplicity, within simplicity of a collection. And do you know what? Those of you that have told me about that, and we've discussed it, I could reach through that bloody screen and give you a hug, because you've got the grasp of what collecting's about. And for those of us that it's just pre-order on pre-order on pre-order, I've used the term, I used it on Sunday about the conveyor belt, guilty myself. It's just an obsession that has become an addiction to ordering stuff because of ownership. And I just said it briefly before, people quite often go on about, oh, it's nostalgia. I disagree with that. There's a few things I've thought about, and I disagree. Oh, it's nostalgia. Right, I get more nostalgia from watching the film or the TV series, if it applies, than I get from the statue. I can only talk about myself. I can look at that Dead Marshes piece sat over there, beautiful, stunning piece, one of the best pieces one of the best pieces I'll ever own. But do I get nostalgia from it? No, honestly, no. I appreciate the statue, I appreciate the beauty and the work of it. But if I want nostalgia, I'll put film on, because I can remember sitting there watching that with my dad. My dad's not involved in that. And it's the same with every piece here. Predator, Jungle Predator behind me. First time I watched that film, I put the film on. The first time I watched that, I was sat with my mate Steve at his mum and dad's house, and I watched it there. We rented it on video. That was the first time you see it, and I can get that from the film. I don't get that from looking at that statue. It's the same with aliens and things. When I watch a film, Star Wars films, Episode 1, with my two mates, Wayne and John, first day, 8 in the morning, I get that from the film. I don't get that from the Darth Maul statue. I didn't look at that Darth Maul and think, oh God, I get it from the film. I don't get nostalgia from statues necessarily. Nowhere near I get it from the film. The film takes me back to where I was when I watched it. These statues are brand new. They're brand new in my collection. There's no nostalgia tied to it. Not really, not when you think about it. So I disagree with that. I think that's something that we throw out there to cover up, to justify a passion that has become an obsession, that has now spiraled out of control into an addiction. And I think the addiction, from myself, what I feel, because I don't know how you all feel, I can only go by what I feel, but I see what I do, my behaviour replicated in so many of you, that I must be sort of on the right lines. It's a need of ownership. You need to own it. I've got to own that piece. I've got to have that piece here. I've done a video on it about showing off, bragging rights for having it. I hate to use these as an example. I'm sorry, Infinity Studios. I'm not picking on you here, but it sounds like I am. But this half scale line, how much of that is people wanting to... I keep hearing, I want the movie accurate. Is there that much between what Prime 1 do and what Infinity do? I can't see it, if there is. Or how much of it is, I just want the biggest and best. Really, honestly, I just want the biggest and the best. The most expensive. I want to show that I can spend all this money. That definitely comes into it. And maybe not necessarily with them, but it definitely comes into it. Like I said before, when I see these huge cluttered collections, I see a hobby out of control. I see, as I've said before, it's a passion, wherever it lies, that has developed into an obsession. And somebody put a comment on Mike's thing, passion is obsession. No, it isn't. Totally disagree. It's a passion that has become an obsession that has manifested itself as an addiction. So yeah, I've totally forgotten where I was. But the addiction is there with all of us. Now, we could go sort of deep and dark into this, which I don't really want to do, even though I love going deep and dark. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? Oh God, I just realised how that sounds. I love dark things. If what you're doing is causing you in any way stress, then you seriously need to stop. If you're getting stressed about display space or storage room, certainly if it's a financial... Now, I don't want to get into that because that's personal to you lot, and I don't want to get into it. All I'll say is everything I've got, guys, I buy it. I don't own a credit card. I don't own one. I buy it. It's mine. It's done and dusted. And that's all I'll say on the financial side. But otherwise, if it's causing you anguish, if it's causing you stress because of display space and what you... seriously, take a break, walk away from it, stop. You don't need these pieces. Now, I used to say, I've thought about this, and this is where I'm going to call myself out. Because I used to say, this stuff's irrelevant, it's unimportant, you don't need it. Now, fundamentally, I kind of agree with that, but it's not an accurate thing to say. It's not a fair thing to say. It is for me and how I see it, but that's not necessarily the case for all of you, because a lot of you, it may be necessary because of the amount of pleasure you get from it, the joy that you get from it, the happiness that it brings you, which is all relevant for your mental health, which we all know now is something that we're supposed to talk more openly about. I've discussed it loosely on this channel about my own. Very difficult for me to come forward and discuss that, but I've learned from other people, and it's amazing the changes that happen when you do. And so yeah, so if it makes you feel good and happy, then obviously it is a necessary thing and it does matter. I was wrong to say that these things aren't a necessity in life, because for me they're not, but for a lot of you they may well be. So for those people, I apologise, I was wrong to say that when I said it previously on other videos. But we're discussing when it gets out of control, and when that happiness turns into stress and anxiety and frustration. I think a lot of the toxicity in collecting comes from frustration from people that maybe, I mean, you can't rule out the dickheads. Let's put the dickheads to one side, because they're always going to be dickheads, and there's quite a few of them. But that's the world over, and I can be one myself when I choose to be. That for me is where obsession is the real issue, is where I see the passion's gone. People just buying. Here, I'm having this, and then it's gone. A few weeks later, a few months later, it's gone. You weren't passionate about that piece. You would have held on to it. You wouldn't have got rid of it. Again, I'll aim this at myself. My T800, I've had that now, 2 years? Never going to go. Predator behind me, the Balrog, Berserker on the top, Dead Marshes, Mina Small. I'm just looking at pieces. Sauron, Gandalf. I'm sending that base off to be painted. These are pieces that I have got zero intention of ever getting. Do you know what? The number of times I go in that garage and I'm like, you might as well destroy these boxes, because I know I'm not going to do it. I just can't bring myself to. I don't know why these boxes have such a grip on me. Addiction, obsession. It's there. It's everywhere. Anyway, I've been talking for a very long time. I've got to go and edit this now. I just looked at the clock over there. Hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, true story. As always, let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know your own perspective, your own take on this. As always, just remember, I'm just chatting about it. I'm not qualified to give advice. I'm not qualified to tell you what to do. I'm aiming this mostly at myself, but I know as a collector, as someone who gets very overboard with things, and what I see, it's something that I'm sure a lot of you can at least recognise and agree with, even if it doesn't apply to you personally. So I'd love to hear from you. As always, guys, anything at all, bang it in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, I really would appreciate a click of the old like button, and if you haven't done so already, really would appreciate if you'd consider subscribing to the channel. Anyway, I got to go to work tonight. Start my nights, yay! So I'll catch you all on the next video, which will be in a few days, because I haven't got anything recorded or ready to put up, so I'm going to have to do all that. And yeah, cheers for watching, everyone. Really appreciate it, and I will catch you all on the next video. But for me now, I am going. Take care of yourselves, and ta-ra!